Hi folks, Jennifer Nelson here, founder of Scout Real Estate. Glad you're listening in. I created Pocket Hours podcast to elevate our game and help us all learn from the best. I have interviewed some of the top producers in our industry about best practices, among many other things. We also tackle industry issues and changes with great conversation from many of our leaders. And the best part is you get clock hours just for listening in. After you have listened to 3 episodes, just email info@scoutrealestate.com to answer a few easy questions for the interview, and you will receive your certificate. Meanwhile, enjoy listening and learning, and go out there and be the agent you would hire. I get to interview Susi Musi today. Super excited about that. We got to have an awesome conversation where she talked about real estate as a puzzle. She gets up almost every day excited to solve that puzzle because, in fact, that's what our clients need, are people that are problem solving, able to handle multiple tasks at a time, have good relationships with other brokers, and have a higher purpose other than just multiple transactions. I love a couple of things that she says: to build a quiet board of directors for yourself in this business. Such great words of wisdom. And then one of my favorite quotable quotes in talking with Susi was she wants to take the bro out of brokerage. And we'll say more about that in the interview, but take a listen. This is a fun one. I have the privilege today to be talking to Susi Musi. And first of all, what a fun name. Come on with that. Tell us a little bit about that.
I'm a Susanna Musi, but I am not the only Susanna Musi in my family because I come from a huge family. There's my mom who's Susan, my grandmother, an aunt, and other cousins. So being the last one, I was given the diminutive, which is the littlest one, Susie. And then that name, as much as I tried to just shake the nickname Susi Musi, I couldn't get rid of it, especially since my husband would always call me Susi Musi. So I just
Susi
said, okay.
Musi, that works. Well, Susi, you and I met a couple of times, but most recently when we were looking for our space for Scout Real Estate. And I was really grateful for your knowledge and expertise in guiding us and sort of your inside scoop. But we're going to get into a little bit about your business world in a minute. But first of all, tell us a little bit, family, kids, pets. Tell us a little bit about you.
I am the mom of a teen and a tween. And then I have a 160-pound COVID puppy, which, keeps our hands full. Big Mastiff Bernard. And then I have my beautiful husband, Luis. And so we live here in West Seattle. I grew up in West Seattle, left, and then came back to raise my family. So
where'd you go in between?
I moved to the East Side to do school over there with my mom wanted to move to the East Side for school district purposes. Then we hopped. I went to Western to get as an undergrad, and then pursued a master's degree back east, and moved to Switzerland and did some time in New York, and then came back, fell in love, and thought that West Seattle called me because I had great memories of being a free range kid up and down Alki, Lincoln Park, and really had just great memories of living here. So I moved back to West Seattle.
That's awesome. Well, welcome back. How long has it been since you've been back in West Seattle?
The Easy Street Records was still there. And imagine a time where people had feathered hair and bell bottoms. That was my time. It was about mid-'80s. I moved back to the East Side. So anyway,
Excellent.
Yeah, got some stories for you.
I know, I love it. Tell us a little bit about pre-real estate Susi. What did you do after your grad degree for work?
So many things. being born in Mexico City and moving to West Seattle, there was always a dichotomy, right? I'm the daughter of two entrepreneurs, small business owners. So my dad was in retail. My mom she was in real estate and in design. And we were always solving problems. She was a single mom. She was, looking to achieve things and, build and fix houses. So we were always working on that project. And then my dad was in retail, always competing with the larger forces. So I share this only to say that this sort of influence, this is the lens in which, you see the world, where you're looking at how to position yourself and solve problems. So in my studies, it was really about combining arts and community development, economic development, and, real passion for urban design. So coming out of that and landing in, tech. This is the peak of the tech world. It's like, walking into a gold rush with a degree. It's like, what's the application for the market? So what I ended up doing was working nights and weekends for nonprofits I was very passionate about, and then working with, within advertising agencies. So I was doing a lot of project management, which led into business development, which led into really interesting consulting cases. So I was really working on solving problems. And then
Nice.
right before I got into real estate, I was working for a marketing company that specialized. It was entirely before it became a brokerage itself. It was a marketing company for real estate projects. And I thought, if I really want to understand real estate, I better get my real estate license. I thought it was weird that we could market real estate and not have a real estate license. So off I went to get that real estate license so that I could understand what we were talking about. And I realized this was a really interesting key and a skill set that tapped into all of the things that I was so passionate about: our cities, community, being a bit of a producer, right? Where you're, producing events, you're certainly solving problems, and you're positioning your clients, be they residential clients or business clients, to get to the next place, to catapult them closer to their goals. So it was a phenomenal kind of aha moment for me to say, wow, I can apply all these tools to do that.
So how long ago did you get your real estate license?
It was 2008, and so
All
about
right.
15 years ago.
Still like it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you're a curious cat, which I am, it's solving that puzzle. What, how are we going to lift this building? I absolutely love that no client is the same, no project is the same, but it's really truly about kind of balancing the seizing an opportunity and addressing a problem all at the same time. So that's how I see it.
I love that you just liken real estate to a puzzle, because indeed it's like we're handed all these pieces at the beginning, and our job in collaboration with our clients and our understanding of the market is to help put together a cohesive thing that you can look at and go, oh yeah, that's what we just created together. It's pretty cool.
Oh, I
Nice.
love it. That's my favorite is, oh, I could never do that. Or I can't do this. Well, really? Oh, this could never happen. Bring it. Bring it. I can't wait
Yeah,
to get into it. I mean, obviously you
that's
don't want
cool.
to, there are times where you absolutely have to pivot, but that's the whole trajectory, right? Where you just get in there and find different ways to accomplish that big or small goal.
I love it. So you started off, you got your license, and did you start doing residential first, or what was first?
It's so funny. I consider my first assignment really in real estate without the license to be an assignment to work with a group of developers who were looking at creating a destination Hispanic shopping experience. And coming from Mexico and having a real grasp of Spanglish, right, where you're kind of going back between both cultures. I love the assignment. I thought it was so interesting. And we were working with architects to brand the project. So that was sort of the first development project. Right after that, it was obviously working right in with positioning properties, doing condo marketing and whatnot, right? Where you're doing big events and doing sales events, although did not have the license to kill at that time. So those were really, meaty projects. But then when I got my license, I did go off and sell a condo first and, co-ops for my friends and more condo marketing. So it was always a combination of marketing and the actual sales.
Okay. And that continues to be a passion for you to sort of figure out the marketing piece of that in combination with the sales side. I mean, they obviously go together.
Absolutely. I mean, you're positioning a property and not just a property, that property belongs to a broader block, right? So then you're, thinking, okay, you step back. It's not just, oh, whose money can I take and how can we fill this hole? It's like, okay, well, let's step back. What's really going to work here, even if it's not an impact to your
Mm,
specific project, right? Like,
mhm,
okay, we've
mhm,
got a pet store, we've got a coffee shop, it has to, you just have to think that way, because if your
mhm,
tenants, for example, in retail, if your tenants aren't successful, your project's not going to be successful. So it's always about marketing for both sides. And like it or not, if I do a deal with you, I'll probably come and give you the name of a bunch of sign companies that you should consider, for your signage or for your marketing, just because we want you to
mhm.
rock on, even if it's not in the job description.
Right,
So,
right. And then when did you, sounds like it sort of was a part of this the whole time, but getting into helping on the more commercial side, whether that's selling commercial spaces or helping people get into leases that are starting new businesses.
it was just one project, and I realized how much I enjoyed that side of it. It was, again, that puzzle. I can't say it was for the money, because these smaller projects where it's like 1,000 square feet, right? They're like half of a mini cupcake of, the pie that you get in a residential deal. They're small,
Mhm,
but that's really not what was interesting. So I was working with architects whom I love, whose dream it was to get back to a neighborhood that meant a lot to them, that they could, everything was about what they wanted to do for their company and, for their clients to come to this particular neighborhood. And so I was hooked. I was like, okay, well, we can do this, and we're going to, look and find you that spot. And I didn't see it being really dramatically different from the person who wanted to buy a place but wasn't sure if they could do it. And they weren't really,
mhm.
it was the same kind of advocacy role. Like, we can do this. Getting in there to get it done.
I love it. Tell us a little bit about Seabrook and how that started. I know that it's sort of kind of winding down, but that's been a big deal for you. What was that about?
Oh my gosh. Here we are. It's the heart of the pandemic. We're all in lockdown. And I just thought I would do anything to take my children and pull them out of off the screens, and then have just push them out, because, as you know, I don't need to, the world got smaller, the clouds dropped, everything got really
Hmm.
dark. And I saw this light that I thought was Seabrook, and I was,
Mm,
indeed it is. So we went out
mm,
there. I, being an architecture geek and a planning geek, I had
mm.
to go on the town tour, which, when people think, oh, town tour, the town founder is going to walk you through. There's no selling involved, none. It's not about, come sign up for our next release of our homes. This is really a geek out fest on the concepts of new urbanism and how these buildings talk to one another. So when I went on this tour, I don't know, I think the skies parted. I was felt that this person was
Mm.
speaking my language. I loved it. And I think he picked up on that and asked me what I did. And I was like, oh, God, here I go. Oh, my God. Oh. I'm a real estate agent. And he's like, oh, really? All right. But I work with the tiniest little, just little businesses. I think the last thing you want to do is be like, hi, I'm a real estate agent, Mr. Roloff. No. So I think he thought that was weird, but weird enough in a good way, that he did his homework on me and saw that I, had all the right stuff to take on the assignment to start working with them.
Mm,
And we did, bakery and food trucks, and then I thought, well, grocery store. That's a big assignment. And I reached out to some other really reputable brokers, but I don't know if you know Seabrook, so it's a drive and good brokers are really busy. So I ended up being the one to identify and find and bring out that grocer. And when you think about it, it has this huge economic impact. So it was a super, super win for the community to find not just a great operator, but a great place within this already awesome place. So really, really fun. And Seabrook has just got permission from the county to build their second big village. So things are going to continue to really move and shake out there. I'm very excited. And I think that door is always going to be open. But for now, having kind of completed that assignment post, per COVID, we're just kind of done, and we'll just see what the future holds for the next few years.
That's awesome. And Susie, just for listeners that may not know what Seabrook is, give us a little quick rundown. Pocket Hours is brought to you by Scout Real Estate. Hi, I'm Jennifer Nelson, owner at Scout Real Estate. I started this firm with the vision of doing things differently, with our focus on legendary service for our clients and creating a community of producing agents to spur each other to do higher quality work. If you are interested in learning more about how a small group of like-minded brokers have come together to have some fun while doing a lot of business, reach out to me, 206-227-7966, or email jennifer@scoutrealestate.com. I promise you this, fun is a high priority for me, but so is winning. So if you appreciate those two things, you might be interested in Scout. Looking forward to hearing from you.
Seabrook is a destination beach town on the Pacific coast, right outside of Aberdeen. So if you're familiar with Cannon Beach and some of the Oregon beach towns, the founders, Casey and his wife Laura, had a vision. They came up from Oregon, having started a successful property or village down there, and saw this extraordinary opportunity for them to sort of do the same thing. But what they did that is not common in development is they took a playbook for new urbanism. They had a real design methodology that comes from planning in towns that we know and love in Europe and Central America. Is just an approach that is not car-centric. So if you want to go to a beach town, park your car and just enjoy nature and the beach in Washington Coast with a 2-hour drive, this is the only place. Really and truly, it's the place. And it's just exploded after a 20-year, it's like a slow cooked town, right? 20 years in the making, and it's just about ready to peak. So
yeah,
that's what that is.
It's a special place. I've been there before a couple times, had friends who own there. And it's true, being able to really get off grid for all that means and get some salt water in your in your lungs and put your toes in the sand and the water and not be kind of hampered with all of the urban life that we live every day. So that's cool.
It's fun. I mean, if you're looking in that area, there's so many magnificent, almost international natural attractions in that area. But, look at Ocean Shores. Ocean Shores has no planning. So what you see is a lot of sprawl. And so there's a great opportunity there. There's great opportunity in Mo Clips. That neck of the woods is poised for really great things, and hopefully with some planning in mind.
I love it. Part of the reason why I do this podcast is to help real estate agents that are looking to get clock hours, but do that in a unique way. So they can turn this on in the car on the way to an appointment that nowadays everything's about 40 minutes away, right? So
the mobile office.
They can mostly, they can mostly hear an entire interview with another producer and gain something instead of necessarily being physically in a class where most of the time they're on their phone anyway, doing other business. So this is where we get to have them tune in, listen to this. So some of the questions I'm going to ask for the rest of the interview are going to be about how you think you became successful in real estate, some of your tips and tricks to productivity, what you think makes you successful. Like, what is it that you specifically bring? The goal is to try to say, we have unique personalities coming on this show, and that somebody listening is going to go, oh, I can do that, or I'm a little bit like that, or that's a good idea, as you can imagine. So I guess my roundabout way of asking this question is to say, are there any best practices that you think you employ that help you do a good business?
I am not in it for the money, although
Mhm.
money is important. I'm not independently wealthy. I do not have a trust fund. I'm up work. I mean, it's just how it is. So if you're going to work, there is something to actually enjoying the problems that you're solving on people's behalf, right? So back to that whole puzzle analogy, real estate's a very broad field. You can be on the lending side of it. You can be on escrow. You can be the rainmaker. There's just many different many different applications for real estate. My counsel would be anyone who is thinking about, deepening their practice. I would challenge you to think about what kinds of problems you like to get up in the morning to solve. And if the problems that you're solving, you could care less about, I guarantee you're not going to be in it for very long. And because people are going to figure that out, that if you don't care about marble tiles, well, or all of the details of a home, right? Because it's really, finishes and appliances. If you're not geeking out on that stuff, then maybe you're not getting into luxury real estate, because all of those things, materials are so important. With me, I love positioning. I absolutely love positioning. I mean, I think the reason I'm into retail is because I'm frustrated. I would love to walk down the street and scrub everything and clean it up and get I want to see things really shine, because our kids are walking up and down the street and we need to get off the phones and we want places to go. So I think you got to elevate your game. Does that,
Yes,
in
for
your
sure.
brain, like, why are you doing this? It can't be
For
because
sure.
of just the money, because you're not going to make any money for the first 2 years,
Yeah.
unless you're
Yeah.
part of some team. I don't know. I
hmm
think reach for your higher purpose
Mm,
and be curious always.
I love that. I'm writing this down because I think they're great quotes. But speaking of reaching for your highest purpose, for me, selling houses is 1/10 of the reason why I do what I do. So there's a piece of that that's fun, but boy, there are 9/10 that have to be in that in order to make me want to keep doing this work. And to your point, your higher purpose, my higher purpose is education. It's elevating how people do this work. It's putting humans first, not transactions. And that shows up. I mean, that shows up even in this conversation with you, that sometimes we're talking to a high producer and they're talking about their numbers. And I want to say, okay, cool. But how'd you get there and why are you there? Like, do you even have a tie? Is the outcome just the transactions, or is there anything else in there? So it's so fun to talk to you because you're sort of passing all of that and sort of saying, oh, let's start first with the higher purpose and being curious and problem solving, because the money's going to come. The money
Oh,
comes.
if you're doing it, like if you're actually listening, because absolutely
hmm
money is going to come. You think I'm going to feel I'm not going to do right by my client, commercial or otherwise, if we've taken the lowest offer, if we haven't done everything we can to realize their dream. But if that is the only why in your real estate career, hey, like, hats off to you. I can't even imagine. That's just how boring for me anyway. But I'm sure and appreciate that it does it for other people, and they can zoom by me, down the highway. That's good, but no, that's not who I am.
Not your gig.
Nope.
Uh, some of what I ask everybody on this show is what's hard for you about this business? Because a lot of, I think, growing up in business is learning to be vulnerable and being able to say, here's what I like, here's what I don't like, here's what's hard for me. What comes to mind when I say that?
There's a lot about this that is hard. There's no doubt about it. Obviously, you have to tap into your patience, and you definitely have to tap into being, flexible. For me, I have, there are some hard personalities that are very one-dimensional that, I run up against. And for me, in terms of the practice that I have, I find it hard to imagine why other people wouldn't go for why wouldn't you go the extra mile and do the best you possibly can, for your community, for the facade of your building, for a lot of institutional owners, they're completely checked out, they're across the way, and you're dealing with property managers and like, come on, let's clean this up, let's make this why. It's the why not. And so that sometimes is hard because there are so many things that could be so much better if we just collectively went around the corner. So that can be kind of hard. On a day-to-day basis, it can be in commercial, right? I sometimes joke that I like to trying to take the bro out of brokerage, although a lot has changed in the industry. I tried to do this when I was in college. I tried to get into working for a developer, and it was not a friendly place. I can't tell you how many times I've tried to get into commercial, and now, many, many years later, here we are. There's some things that are easier than others, but
For sure.
the bro thing is not
Take
so
the
much.
bro out of
The brokerage.
brokerage.
Yes, I want to do that at least.
I love it. Okay. That's funny. Okay. So then one more question sort of about productivity. So if you're focusing on the client, you're looking at this as a puzzle, you're waking up kind of thrilled to be figuring out how to problem solve this. What other angle can we take to help these people reach their dreams, to position this property, whether it's commercial or residential, in its best light to get the client to the next level? Are there any practices that you do outside of sort of mindset stuff that you think have contributed to you continuing to be good at what you do?
There are some exceptional people, obviously. When you come across them, I think it's really important to foster that relationship. So it could be the agent on the other side. If time allows and our schedules work, I absolutely love to take people and to coffee or to congratulate them after. So I think gratitude is really important. Communication is important. As much of a win-win as you can make your transaction, even if it's strategically putting that I'm like, my MO is to create a win-win. I would like your client and you to be as happy about this as my client. And that's just how I'm going to walk into this transaction. And then after, if you can continue to develop and cultivate those relationships with other agents outside of your brokerage, there's a deal or a project, and that so-and-so at other XYZ brokerage is going to be the best person for your client's job, to bring that person on. To be agency agnostic, I suppose, is what I'm saying. And build kind of a quiet board of directors in that background. So you have your legal minds, you have your finance minds, just have that team in the back. And if there's any way to meet on a regular basis, and I know that there's BNI teams and whatnot to do all of this, but even on an informal, right?
I just was taking notes again, and I'm going to reiterate this. Developing relationships outside your brokerage is part of your job. So brokers listening to this, if you're the Lone Ranger type that just says, I'm just here to sell houses, you are absolutely shortchanging yourself and your clients by not understanding that a lot of your job is to make relationships with other brokers. So well said. And then this build a quiet board of directors, like be the source of the source, right? Because your clients are coming with all kinds of needs, some of which you can address but a lot of which you want to have these go-to people that are really good at what they do, reflecting you're being really good at what you do, so that you're offering this comprehensive problem solving to your client and also are in your corner, right? This isn't a Lone Ranger business, or hopefully isn't. And so being able to go to other entrepreneurs and say, here's what I've got. This is hard. What would you do? Is a smart way to do business. So that's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I hope I'm summarizing okay.
Oh, 100%. It's exactly that. You can, when it's midnight and you're like, oh my gosh, we're going to get this in before, review at 9 a.m. tomorrow because they've just decided that they want to, and it's dark outside and you are, at the end there you are by yourself, but it's pretty fabulous when you can look back and see this constellation of team members that you've created, allies. Really, it's allies, and you really are trying to help one another out, and ultimately you're trying to lift up your community because you're all working in a neighborhood or in a city, right? And what you do makes a huge difference. It really does. So
I like it. That's awesome. Well, before we finish up, Susie, is there anything else you want your fellow brokers? What's another word besides fellow, since we're not all men out there? Anyway, your
peers,
peers, your peers in the industry to know about you.
I feel like sometimes I'm a family doctor, where you've got the commercial office lease and you've got the retail lease and I've got, a luxury listing. I really feel like I'm servicing clients, right? These people, and they have, other needs, but there are going to be times where, a family doctor can't do it and you're going to need to go see that specialist. And I would love to hear from other brokers who have specialties, be it a language specialty or that they have a passion for, to please reach out to me and introduce themselves. I'd love to get to know them and, build that village of people who are doing, great things.
I love it.
Yeah, I think that would be, doors always open. And one other thing I will say is that this is on referrals. I will say this as a public service announcement, that when and I really appreciate referrals because it's almost all referral business at this time. I don't do any marketing. I think it's all referral marketing, or it's all referrals. That referrals for a tiny little lease, there's just no referral fee for that. I will send you a dinner, gift certificate, say thank you, but you just can't imagine how much time it takes to get from this point to that point. Happy to bore anyone with how leasing works and why I don't offer referrals. It's just that there's just not enough, in the donut. It's a donut hole, and it'd just be like a tiny crumb, would be left. I don't want to. No, can't do that.
Fair enough.
Okay.
And for anybody listening that doesn't understand leases, I understand just enough to absolutely want to clap for you on that, because it's a lot of work and you get so many calls that don't amount to anything. And so by the time you get paid, your hourly wage on some of these is pretty pathetic. So we don't get a piece of that pie. We just get to know we're handing someone off to someone who really cares and will help them. So yes, fair enough.
Okay. Well, thank you for inviting me to come and speak to you. It's a great conversation with you. So thanks very much.
Good. Well, I appreciate you being on the show, Susie. Lots of really good nuggets. I wrote a lot down, and I'm sure we'll be circling back in the next year or two to talk with you again, but I appreciate your time today. Thank you so much for listening in to Pocket Hours. I hope this has been interesting, fun, made you laugh, made you think, spurred you on to do and implement some new things in your business. I appreciate your time and hope this has been a good use of it, period. Now, go be the agent you would hire.